Welcome to live chat. Almost took myself out there. We are live. How's everybody doing? It's the weekend, the end of the weekend, Sunday night. I'm still here dyno testing, but I should be finished tonight. I've got one more series of tests I want to do. I need to finish up 2 more cams on the LS, and then I'll have all 4 of those done, which will be good. I'm pulling the big block off tonight, and that's I'm finished with all the testing on that. So we were able to run a camshaft on the 8.1, and we also did this cool intake manifold, which is what I want to talk about tonight. So this intake manifold was supplied by Amos Garcia. You guys might recognize the name. Excuse me. You might recognize the name. He's actually the guy that supplied this 8.1 for me to do testing. So shout out to him and all his awesomeness. But he did put a lot of work into this custom intake manifold. You can see right off the bat, it's got a giant size like throttle opening, much bigger than the factory is. In fact, I put a 102 millimeter throttle body on it, and it's quite a bit bigger than that. I looked around I thought we had a 125 millimeter throttle body. And I looked around for that, but I couldn't find that because I wanted to check sizing on that. But the opening on this thing was pretty big. So he made a straight tube going in, went in, did a bunch of porting on the inside. I don't think he did much to change the runner length, and judging by the results, I wouldn't expect that to be the case. He did change he cut the plenum out of it, the section out of the bottom, and then went in, I guess, to get access to stuff. But big throttle opening, which and whatever magic worked on the inside. He didn't do what people normally do to things like this. And a good example of that is the Dodge Magnum, the beer keg one. So when guys do Magnum stuff, what they do is they'll go in and you know, modify the entry, make the opening bigger. Like I tested that single blade throttle body, that 3D printed one, which was awesome from the guys at UT Awesome, appropriately enough. And so having a bigger throttle opening, that's good. Just like with this one, we have more air in potential, and if the motor can take advantage of it, and also if the rest of the intake manifold is not otherwise some sort of restriction, then it could take advantage of that. But on the kegger manifolds on the Dodge, what they normally do is they also go in and they'll start cutting away runner length, and that has a predictable result. When we shorten the runners, it changes where the thing wants to optimize power production. It changes that reflected wave and when that's going to arrive and when we're going to get gains at what RPM and stuff. And so shorter runners make more power at the top or at a higher engine speed than longer ones. Whenever I have this discussion with people, they get into this mindset where like long runners are only good for low RPM. Well, yeah, but a fast is a long runner manifold on an LS, and it is better for lower engine speeds, and by low I mean 7,000 and below. so not 2,000 RPM. It's not optimized to make peak torque there, peak power there. It makes really good power in that range, and that's a lot of guys have a hard time understanding when I'm having discussion about, hey, long runners make good power. It's not just that they make good power, like a tune port manifold. A Chevy tune port is an extreme example. Both small runners and very long runners, and those kind of limit power production at the top of the RPM range. This thing made peak power fairly early. I mean, I was only revving it to, I think, 53 or 5400 RPM, and it was well done by then. But we also have a good size motor. I mean, it's 8.1 liters, and we have a long runner factory style intake manifold on it, which if I was designing the 8.1, if I would have designed the 8.1, it would have had aluminum heads and it would have had a composite intake manifold. It would have been a big block version of the LS, if only because I want to, because from lifting it up and changing manifolds, and certainly later on changing heads, which is, you know, gonna be a little bit of a chore. I know that because I pulled the heads off the 396, so those are off, and those will go back to Bostic, and he will fix them, and so that they're right, and then we'll be able to put it back together and run it. So it'll be good. I'm excited about it. Virginia's in the house. We got a lot of states here. That's very cool. But an iron-headed big block. you know, I don't know, maybe for a, I don't know, maybe for a marine application, but aluminum definitely on the intake. Aluminum would be better on the heads, and anymore, I'd rather have it be composite on the intake manifold so that they're easy to take on and off. I have to say, I do like the 8.1, no water passages, so the intake, you know, it's pretty easy to come on and off. Like I said, I'd like it to be composite and a little bit lighter weight because it's a pretty fairly heavy casting, but it does work well. The one thing that obviously separates this and makes it more like a big block, this Gen 7, because if you look at it, it looks like it looks all the world like it has cathedral port heads. Technically, it's not an LS, and we know that because when you do a camshaft, you have to take the intake manifold off, and you have to take the rockers and the lifters and everything out. Not the rockers, obviously, the rockers and the push rods, but also the lifters and the guides and the spider or something. All that stuff has to come out. So you can take the cam out and put the new one in. And the cool thing about this is when we did the cam test, the cam that we tested was a ZZ502, which is like a 224, 230 something camshaft. You guys will see all that in the video that's coming out. But I also had to change the spring. So I'll go through all the spring changing procedure, what it took. Because we had to, on these particular heads, you have rotators. And so I didn't have rotator eliminators. And actually rotator eliminators wouldn't have solved the problem anyway, and it might be a problem that I may end up solving with a new product. But we had to stack a bunch of shims on there to get it to work. So it was, you know, like everything, it's quite a bit of work. But in changing the cam, one of the cool things we had to do, because we're going from a Gen 7 cam, which has the LS firing order, to the Gen 6 cam, we had to change the firing order. So I just went in and changed it in the Holly. And then the interesting thing is, when I did the cam swap, I went in and changed the firing order, and lo and behold, I had no RPM signal. So I'm like, why would changing the firing order do that? I even called Eric. I said, Eric, have you ever heard anything like that? He goes, no, it really shouldn't do that. He goes, you should go back and try the LS firing order and see if it fires up. I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen. It shouldn't be firing order dependent. It shouldn't care what we're putting in there. It should just do what we're asking of it. I said, so I think something else is wrong. But I tried it. He was on the phone. I'm like, yeah, I'll go and try it. I'll just load the other program that I had when I ran the stock camshaft, and I could put that in because I made separate files for them. Made a file for the new one because not only are we going to have to change, or did I have to change the firing order for the ZZ502 cam, but, you know, if it makes more power, we're going to have to add fuel. So it would be a different file. So I made a whole new file, and that way I could interchange them. While he was on the phone, I changed it, loaded it, sent it in. I'm like, no, it's doing the same thing. So I had something else. I said, well, I'll call you later, and we'll figure something out. And if I'm going to go through all of the normal steps. Let's check all the grounds. Let's check all the fuses. Let's check all the connections. Let's check all that stuff. And it turned out to just be a relay. It's a relay in the harness. It's one of the things I checked. It was on my list of things. I went and checked all the normal things, make sure all the plugs, that none of the wires had pulled out, none of the clips had pulled out or anything. So checked all that stuff. And then the very last thing was I said, well, I'm going to check the relay. Pulled the relay out, put another one, and went back in. Fired right up. so it's always, it's always stuff. That's always part of the excitement. But I do like this motor, even though it's, like I said, it'd be nice if it was LS style cam swappy. That would be good, because then it makes it easier to run a bunch of cams through it. But it's not terrible. The other thing I had to change is the cam bolts that are on the Gen 7 are a metric cam bolt, and then the ones obviously on the Gen 6 are American SAE standard. So we had to put different bolts in. Same timing gear. All that worked out good. So good. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that the manifold that I'm showing there will? Do you think it will gain power? Do you think it'll lose power? Do you think the modifications are helpful? Let me know what you guys think in the thing. I did also I ran the same headers on this as I ran on the 396, which were basically big block probably Chevelle chassis headers, so like a real header rather than the ones that we run on the dyno. I just kind of wanted to see what the difference was, and I'm gonna, after putting them on and running them and just going over and taking a glance at the other dyno cell that I had run the 8.1 on previously, I just wanted to get a verification of, hey, where are we on horsepower and torque? Is this thing still, is it still in the ballpark? And it was almost spot on. So I'm like, okay, well, it's doing the same thing. That's fine. But now I want to go back and look and see if there's a change in the shapes of the curve to see if the dyno headers that I ran before maybe have a little bit different power curve than these smaller chassis headers. It'd be interesting to see. I want to see if they're smaller, if they picked up some torque or something. It'd be cool. But I'm excited about it, and I like anymore. I like running motors, ones that I don't have to continually take apart and put back together. But I just go and run them. That's why I really like the 5.3. Every time I come here, like this time, it goes on, it runs, and then it's just, and because we'd already run it before, I already had a tune for it. So I just, you're just going, oh well, I want this to be a 12.6 instead of a 12.5 or whatever. You're just, you're not really doing anything. You're just making yourself feel better. But since already, it's just a matter of really loading the tune up and then starting it up and letting it warm up, and then it was off to the races. So it was very quick. So I was able to do one cam swap on the LS, and I'm going to put it back on and do the other two. But quite honestly, it's going to be an exercise in frustration, I think, because it's not going to do anything. I mean, the other two cams, the Summit cam and the Cam Motion cam, seem to be down a little bit at the top compared to these other two. But the Chupacabra and the Truck Norris cam are just, in terms of the power curve that I'm looking at, very, very similar. I mean, so somebody was talking about the restrictions on this thing. Alan, so the intake is a major restriction at and behind the throttle body, and once it needs 100 millimeter throttle body with no restrictions into the plenum. That's what this was. It was 102 millimeter. I've adapted a Holley EFI top to a tunnel ram for a big block Chevy. Hopefully it does well. It should. .8.1. I'm just scrolling back to see some of the questions. Anybody use LSBTR shaft rocker setups? Yeah, they are good. Cancel. I don't know why I was doing that. Are there any other manufacturers that support this generation big block other than Radar and Dart? Comp does, I think. I think Comp has cams for them, because Comp probably grinds the cams for these other guys. Scrolling back, I got my Terminator X 2V kit on Tuesday. Nice. Hit the thumbs up. Reloading, that's really close to what it made. Scrolling back to 24, 2, 3, 6, 5, 10 is the HO Marine cam. Wondering how close the 502 cam. It's got to be really close, because those are really similar specs to the CZ502 cam. I need those injectors off the stock 8.1 manifold. They're 32 pounds and have the exact same Multec 2 connector as the. I have them. They're here. I was just going to throw them away. Richard, is it common for vacuum separators to only open under load? Yes, that's the only time that they're going to open. That's what they're designed to do. Travis, are they 32s or whatever? I could have run, well, 30 times 8, 24, 48. we'd have been getting close. Definitely don't throw them away. They're very sought after for stock harness 96 to 06 truck guys. So I need to I need to bring them back, and well, I should probably float them. And I should probably sell them to raise money for my next project, right? You can use Yellow Terra shaft rockers and need the correct metric socket cap screws. They work great. They're affordable. Admiral, how do vacuum secondaries open under load but not under idle? Well, under idle, there's lots of vacuum. And under wide open throttle, there isn't vacuum. So my guess of the power gain being what was the difference in between displacement, yeah. I just didn't know about this. I didn't know about this camshaft. Yeah, this intake worked very well. Now because there's no water on these, it makes me want to do a super Richie intake manifold. I have an 8.1 in my 1990 454 SS pickup. That would be good. Dark carbureted intake and a 1050 brawler. Did you use an adapter to go from the 4150 to the 4500? Comp cams, don't remember cam spec. 2-inch primary exhaust. Made 405 wheel horsepower. That's cool. That's probably right about where it should be. Do you stock keepers with high performance springs? If you're asking about this 8.1, I didn't. We used different because we used a different retainer, so we had different keepers to go with the different retainers. On LS stuff, a lot of times you can, but normally we don't. Yes, Admiral, vacuum secondaries open because of a lack of vacuum. Otherwise, they would be open all the time. They should call them zero vacuum secondaries. Then that would be cool. It's the Brawler. Oh, the Brawler 1050, 4150. Okay, I thought it was a 1050. I thought it was a Dominator itself. Thought you were getting all spicy. And the nice thing is the cam swap took a while. Not because of the cam, mostly because of the springs, and luckily Andy, my buddy Andy Mitchell, came through with springs that I could use and retainers. I just had to find the keepers, and then he gave me a big bag of shims because each one of them had to have a 200,000 stack on it. So that's a lot when you multiply that by the number of valves. It becomes that's a lot of. Luckily, he had a giant bag. He said I take every shim off of every motor that I ever take apart, every junkyard head or whatever. He goes, and I just keep them all. And he goes, I have them, and then when we need to use them, nice. I bought a Holly intake 3 years ago. Just opened it today. Was missing the gasket. Summit selling a new one's nice. I remember to take my vitamins. I take vitamins every day. How do you choose a blow-through carb? You usually choose it based on your desired power. We've run an 850 all the way up to 12 or 1300. But he has bigger ones, and some of the race guys here, like Mike Miller, have run Dominator style blow-through carburetors because they're making lots of horsepower. Reloading, the 7 degree thing is not. It depends on more than just 7 degrees. CSU is the blow-through carburetor that we use. That's Kevin. You'll see him. He's big out the races. Or the wrong size injectors for my OQ4. I have a Trailblazer SS intake manifold and need 1,000 cc injectors. Those are short. Yep. Yeah, the injector game is more confusing. The size-wise, it's very easy to figure out, but getting the fitment right can kind of be a pain. Because you got to get the size, you got to get the length, you got to make sure it's not too big or not too thin. Too thin is probably okay, but then it has to have the right plug size or the right plug style. I'll run the BTR shafts just because of the weight. I don't normally go with roller rockers on LS motors. Brandon, I'm finishing that testing right now, so I haven't done a video on it. And on this truck, I use the factory rail, which now I'm going to cut the regulator off of it because the regulator started leaking. I had to take the nipple and I pinched it with vice grips and then folded it over and then pinched it again so that, because the diaphragm is bad on it, so the fuel is leaking out. So now what I'm going to do, now that I'm done, I'm going to cut the section that has the fuel rail or that has the regulator. I'm going to just cut that off and it'll just be an open pipe. And then we'll just plumb our line right to that. Because all I have is we're just deadheading it. So I just have a basically high pressure rubber hose coming off of our air motive regulator, and it just goes into the rail. Have you had injector harness adapter issues? We've run them on the dyno. I don't know that I would have that on the car. The more connections you have, I think the more potential for problems there is. Jose, I can't do a poll on my phone, unfortunately. I got it. It doesn't. It never happens until the end, until the last day. But today was a good day. I got a lot of stuff done today. I mean, it started early, and last night was late, and then it started early, but you know, you got to do that. Amos is here. We were just talking about you earlier. So everybody say hi to Amos. He is a gentleman that supplied the 8.1 and the very cool intake manifold. Can 6 gen 454 use 4 or 5 gen? I don't know what part you were talking about. I'm gonna scroll back and see. Can they use Gen 4 and 5 bottom end kits? No, they can't. You can use Gen 5 bottom end kits because they're both one-piece seals, but the Gen 4 stuff is a two-piece seal. So you'd need an adapter, which I've done before. Yeah, Amos, making stuff happen. After changing the camshaft, it's time for me to change the oil. The oil's looking pretty dirty. It deserves it. It's gone through a lot. I don't think. Amos, do you remember? Have I run nitrous on this thing yet? Because if I haven't, I need to, right? I know we ran the turbo on it. This thing is pretty impressive. It's getting up near 600 foot-pounds. Yeah, I didn't think I did, but it does need nitrous. It's making enough power to run, you know, at least 100 150 shot or something. Is it okay to run the cam lift up to exactly what the springs are advertised for? Yeah, you need to check with them and see if that's the max lift. But if you're going to do that, then you need to verify that they don't coil bind there, because you're going to need to verify your setup. Like, what is your installed height? What do they coil bind at? Do you have that much room? If you're trying to max it out, you need to be conscientious about that. We need more support for post 2000 big inch motors. The V10 I do agree with. And I think we need I really want to do the 462 valve. There was a whole bunch of them at the wrecking yard. At least one of them had to be a runner. Russ, that was your guess for the cam swap. It didn't make that much on just the cam. I want to see a power build on a 5.4 2 valve. A 2 valve V10. I'm not going to do a 5.4. I'm going to do a big bang on a 4.6 2 valve. I don't know what the weak points are on the 8.1. Amos might be able to chime in on that. I was a little worried about this camshaft that we put in. I borrowed it from my buddy Andy, and it's been run in motors before. It just seemed like the journals were a little bit snugger on the bearings in the 8.1 than the one that came out. We don't need much help to big bang the 4.6. They just do that all by themselves. They do that just sitting in the wrecking yard. I really want, so if anybody wants to get me an early or late birthday present, depending on where it is, go down to the LKQ that's here by West Tech, and there's a 1973 351 Cleveland that's all complete that I would really like, but I just can't get it. But I really would like that motor. I think that that's the exact same motor that my they made two that year, and I don't know which one it is, but I'd have to look at the bin, I guess. But my neighbor across the street has that motor in her Mustang. Randy, it's your birthday in an hour and a half. Happy birthday. Weak spot hasn't been found yet on the 8.1s. This is no real information on it. I don't see the I think with ported heads and a super richy intake manifold, this thing would do good. I'm back from assault. I learned a lot, but now I've got a lot of questions on front-wheel drive gearing, which would be my biggest problem in the Jetta. Let's see. I need to talk to front-wheel drive Bonneville guys. Which will be my biggest problem. I'll be running a 2003 VW Bora diesel and GF altered fuel altered. Okay. Are you running it as a diesel? That's a tall order if you're running it in a fuel class, because the fuel classes they could run nitromethane. They don't have to run diesel. But that's cool. And gearing onto diesel would be even more of a problem, I think. Although I think that the diesel transmissions probably have pretty tall gearing in them. Richard, put the 8.1 in your truck and see if you can squeeze 20 miles per gallon. I'd like to see if I can squeeze 20 miles per gallon out of the 5.3 that I have, because it won't do that on the freeway. It would just do that if I didn't drive 70. It might just do that. Right now it's showing rich code, so I probably need to clean my mass air meter. I think that's what Oliver was saying. Any chance Holly's gonna let you dyno test their most recent April Fool's Day intake? No, probably not. Gonna try to drive the Omni home? Maybe. I want to play with an 8.1 on the dyno. Will the 632 crate cylinders work? I don't know. I don't know what the interchangeability is on that motor. They didn't let me dyno the Skyram. I didn't get to do it. You can put conventional big block heads on a Gen 4, 5, 6 on this with work, but I don't know. I think it's a lot of work. I don't know if is it enough work to justify rather than getting Raylar or some of these other aftermarket heads that might be available. I don't know about other aftermarket aluminum ones. Maybe they don't exist. Excuse me. Jody, is this on the 8.1? I haven't measured the stock springs. Maybe Amos knows. I don't even know what the lift is. I think he sent me the spreadsheet on. I'd like to see what the stock lift is. If that spring question was for a 5.3, they're only good for 500 lift or slightly under that. And then the LS1 or LS3 springs and LS2 and LY6, those are all good for 550 lift. That's the upgrade spring. The Raylar 8.1 is a Darren Morgan design. He knows a thing or two about making power. Yeah, I think getting high mileage out of the big block would be a little bit of a problem. I had the 8.1 the 2500 HD. There's probably I'm sure that there are headers for them, right? Headers and tune, cold air. I don't know about throttle bodies because I don't know if probably would have to port match the intake manifold. Stock 8.1 cam is 485, 483. GMU springs with 510s. No one over here running front wheel drive. The reason for the fuel class is the DLRA is not keen on diesels and gas. If I run fuel, I'd be running nitrous with the diesel. Yeah, that is the nice thing about the fuel class is you can do that. Do you have enough gearing to go the speed that you want? Almost about a 6 liter today. Then I saw the truck you pulled it from and looked like it was underwater at some point. Yeah, you don't want one that's been filled. Did you get your water leak diagnosed on 396? We already know what it was. We know what it was and we know what the cure is. It's just a matter of doing it. It's definitely the guides. It's definitely the exhaust guides. Richard, does length before the turbo have any effect on anything? It can have a restriction effect on going into the turbo, but it doesn't have any reflected wave. The length before the turbo remote stuff changes the response rate. Somebody had a 402 in their Camaro. 70 Camaro 402 headman headers fit the 8.1 two-wheel drive trucks. Oh, cool. Because it's the same bolt pattern as a big block Chevy. I know because I ran this intake, James, was already tested tonight. The one that I have on the thumbnail. I ran the same headers that Jason over at JT Fab did for me. That we turboed the big block, and then I turboed this 8.1 too. Turbo, pure turbonium. Alan, you want to have your 120-pound injectors cleaned? Have they been sitting for a long time? We need more Turbo 8.1. I need to ask Amos or any of the guys here if they've taken apart these 8.1s and what the factory ring gap is. Gary maxes out just shy of 200 miles an hour at 5,500. Will that diesel engine go to 5,500? 2.6 and 26-inch shelf tires, which is the best stock final drive I can make. Yeah, I had to have one made. Looking forward to the 6.8 liter V10 test. Curious to compare the 5.4 Navigator you previously tested. Wondering if the 5.4 with 4 valves will outpower the 10-cylinder 3-valve combo. I think it's rated higher, isn't it? Today is 402. LT hasn't, but his ring check is his a stock bottom end? I thought that he already hurt one of his motors. Hang on a second. The more length before the turbo will create more lag. The turbo has to fill the piping to boost pressure. The more plumbing, the harder it will be to fight turbo lag. So you're saying the more piping in the exhaust system, you mean like a remote turbo? A remote turbo certainly will have more lag than a non-remote turbo. But I thought he was talking about the inlet side going into the turbo. That won't have any effect at all. We got a little Bob's 350Z going. Cool. Upgrading the 5.3 with a 6.0. Nice. My 8.1 at 22 to 24. This is a pretty big bore though, right? It's a 4250. The discharge side on the cold side has very little effect. Rod, the engine was tuned at West Tech. Let's see, hang on. He noted, prior to the test, I'm running the stock steel crank, originally rated at 325 horsepower. What I don't know what the comment was before that. I'm not worried about stock cranks at all. Rod, I'll try to scroll back, but it's hard to do on the phone. Scrolling. Still trying to find Rod's comment. Rod, how far back is it? I can't get to it. It would only let me go so far on live feed. And I don't see it. He listed my engine as a 398. And what size motor is it? When does the 8.1 video come out? After I do it. I just finished the testing like 10 minutes ago, or however long this thing has been going on. Same 67 short block that you're running on your L78 build. This my engine is 398 instead of a 402. Is that what you're saying? Full boost at idle. that would be a neat trick. Yeah, 30 over 396 is going to be a 402, but it doesn't matter that it got listed as 398. The frictional changes are going to be almost nothing between those if that's what you're worried about. Is an 8.1 a worthy Godzilla competitor? An 8.1 would make a lot more torque than a 7.3 will, especially down low. I don't think an 8.1. I just don't know enough about 7.3. I don't know what the head flow is, and I don't know what the cam timing is. I don't know how much power they make or what they're rated at or anything. I don't know anything about them. The 8.1, I think, is designed for a different thing than the 7.3 is. Do you think the 8.1 looks like BTR's new manifolds? Does BTR make a very long runner cross ram that I don't know about? A long runner intake manifold that I don't know about? Richard, have you had experience with variable geometry turbos? Only the factory stuff from the Dodges way back. I think the 8.1 on real boost will be your highest torque without braking. I don't know. It has the potential to multiply out there. I just don't know if it will get there. And we would, if we were doing a big bang on it, we would purposely not try to make lots of torque because that's what's going to break it. Struggling to find someone to do it in Australia. Yeah, I think we had to have Liberty Gear make ours. Uh, 500 horsepower from a 7.3. That's good. That means it has some cam and cylinder head on it. Oh, Rod, yeah, it's a 3750 stroke, and it would be a 4094 would be the standard bore, and 30 over is 4125 or 4124. James. What about using a Turbo 400? You could, but it'd have to be a good one. I mean, this thing is nearing 600 foot-pounds of torque. That's a good amount, and it's making it pretty low in the RPM range. Ben, did you change your mind on your post, on your message? I haven't seen Mike. Rod, when did you run yours? The 8.1, I have run boost on already with a stock cam. I need to make a dual runner intake manifold for it. The Turbo LQ4 with a small turbo on it should work pretty well, though. That should be pretty torquey. pretty abundant. Reloading, do you think factory 8.1 heads flow better than unported 049s? I don't know enough about them. I don't know what their flow rates are. I tried to flow a set and it didn't work out very well. I don't know if the numbers were realistic. They're pretty low. I think I have 4 2.2 cams. Reaper, you got a LQ9 for your Nova. Nice. Uh, 5.3, if you want to make power, the first thing that people do is a cam and springs and a tune. Joey's looking for an aftermarket drive-by-wire harness. Anybody know? I don't. Carbureted LQ4. The carbureted manifolds are not, a dual plane is actually not bad, really low for torque, but not as good as the other stuff. Not as good after that as the long runner stuff. A tunnel ram. No, think cross ram dual plenum, or even straight up and down dual plenum. But a cross ram would be better because we already have angle at the ports. Tested on, okay, August. And what was the configuration of the motor, Rod? Was it a stock one? And which stock one? So, I think I have a pen here. I do. We'll write that down. I was looking at that picture of your Mustang. Do you have an intercooler on it? I didn't ever run an intercooler. Well, I can't say didn't. I did run an intercooler, a prototype one for the guys at Vortec way back, but you wouldn't have been able to see it because it was mounted down in the on the side of the radiator. So maybe it was in front of the radiator. It didn't work out very well, and I've never run an air to water one on my Mustang. Cody, if you have speed-proof flat top pistons that have valve reliefs in them, if they have valve reliefs in them, there's a big chance or a good chance that they put it in for a bigger valve. Oh, Borla 8-stack hydraulic roller. That's even cooler. I'm gonna say chopper copper nitrous or boost and beat many other 5.3s. That's a good cam. It's like the Truck Norris cam. 30 over 302 Boss pistons, which are dome. I want to put 351M in my 4B Cleveland heads. Where can I get an adapter for the intake manifold? I think we had to make one. I think the guys at MPG heads did ours. Yeah, if they've got valve reliefs, chances are that they're not for the. They may not be for the stock valve sizes. I don't see people making too many aftermarket heads that are just set up for the stock valve sizes. Maybe some of the hyper-eutectic stuff, but I don't think any of the Ford stuff. The Ford stuff is usually big enough to put a bigger valve in. The 73 351 Cleveland's not going to have closed chamber heads on it. I'm sure that those are going to be open chamber heads. Be interesting to see how far the piston is down the hole and all that stuff. Ron, you have a radar cam in it. Which cam do you have in it in your 8.1? So the Speed Pro would work with a 194 valve. Would it work with a 202? Yeah, if you've got a turbo Godzilla, that's going to make lots of power. Bobby, the K-Tech heads are pretty good. Even the, not the double wazoo ones, just their quickie ones that they do. Those have worked out pretty well. The K-Tech guys are good. They know what they're doing. They've done a few things. Yeah, you'll be happy with that. 194 was the max. Yeah, cam and springs and boost. That's the power recipe that people generally go with on the LS stuff. It works for other stuff as well. It works for all of it, even in 8.1. Bobby, I'm sure he'll be able to get in plenty of trouble with a 5.3. Yeah, Scott, this was a lot of years ago that I did that. There might be other stuff available, but luckily you have the internet. You can go search around. This was way back in the Y2K days. I think I left some horsepower on the table going with a stock oval port head. Do you use an 049 head, Rod? That's a good head. After this, you plan to boost it with his cam and intake? Probably not. We know what that does. It just multiplies what's there. Yeah, Utah. That's LT. The ugly truck was a stock bottom end. Which one? Did he hurt the 4.8? Is that the one he hurt? I thought they blew one of them up. Mike Davis had run his 8.1 with a turbo on it in his truck for, I don't know, 100,000+ miles. So he's done a ton of stuff on that. 460 horsepower, 460 foot-pounds. That's good. Rod, your motor made peak power at 5,000 with that stack injection? Did it have really long stacks on it? Seems low. I don't know how much cam you had in it. I mean, with the cam that's in this L78, it's going to be way north of that. Short stacks on it? Does the intake manifold cutting actually work on the 8.1? This intake manifold that Amos modified with the big throttle opening and stuff, and whatever modifications he did on the inside definitely worked. I don't know how much work it was for the T. Did which one float the valves? Oh, that 396. Yeah, that seems low. It'd have to be a pretty small camshaft to want to make peak power there. If it was a super long, you know, if it had really long stacks on it, that's going to definitely bring the peak power RPM down, but 5,000 seems low. Have a 206 cam in there or something. 2 more minutes. Does anybody know if it's kind of a common thing for intake valve seats to drop out of the L94 6.2 liter? I haven't heard that on those. I've heard it on LS7s and Hemis. Rod, did you post your cam specs? Did you give those to me already? It's been a lot of questions, but yeah, Hemis lose the Gen 3 Hemi stuff are notorious for losing valve seats, and then they lose valves and pistons and everything else. And then people sell the intake manifolds and then make somebody else blow up their motor. I can't believe how much debris was in the one that I bought. Rod, you just posted your specs again. Let's see. I'm in live chat and I see where you just posted again, and there's nothing between that and did you see my cam specs? Let's see. Let's see. I'm scrolling back, Rod. Stay with me. Weber system, that's good. I like Webers. Still scrolling, still scrolling. Scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Nope, I don't see it. And scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. So you're tucking your stacks under a clear glass hood. Richard, how big of torque peak? And let's see. No, I don't want to do that. Rod, your cam specs are not coming up on the on this live chat. Where you say just post it again, that comes up, but I don't see any posts here on the specs. Yeah, nobody can see your specs. Richard, how big a peak power and peak torque gains? Because I expect to get with half a bar should be 50%. No, but not from a supercharger. Only from a turbo. Oh, if you put too many, if you put the cam specs in there, YouTube doesn't like it. So put some words in there too. Put lift and then duration and then LSA. Late to the party, but planning on doing a custom 8.1 intake. That's cool. This one was a ported, modified stock one that had a... I'm curious how an LQ4 would run with 243 heads and a stage 3 truck cam. It would run well. Dying to see the Oldsmobile 350 kit that Kevin from KSR did. I will try 240, 280 duration with 800 lift. It's a pretty big split. Must have a really poor flowing exhaust port or a non-existent exhaust port. Proper press fit is very important. 242, 252, 671, 668. That, unless that's an advertised number, that cam should not make peak power anywhere near 5,000. It probably wouldn't even make peak torque at 5,000. If those are 50 numbers, that's a big cam. It's a serious, like, man-size cam. I'll go look at the dyno results, Rod, and see. After taking the heads off of my 396, I didn't like the fuel pattern on the pistons. The 243 heads will bump the compression up on an LQ4 compared to the 317 heads. Oh, peak at 6,000. Okay, that's making more sense. Yeah. Kevin is building something special. He claims he's going to turn over 10,000. That's good. That's a lot of RPM. I'll go take a look at it, Rod. I gotta get going. I got stuff on the dyno. More stuff. There's all more stuff. But the good thing is when I get back, we'll be pumping out lots and lots of content. 8.1, 5.3, 350 small block, another 8.1, junkyard, all kinds of stuff. And the 396, all that. It's all good stuff. Thank you guys all for showing up. I will be back tomorrow.